Thousands of vulnerable children and parents are at risk right now because of a hole in our county court system.
ABC 15 investigator Lori Jangliha discovered there is limited oversight when it comes to supervised visitation in cases with custody disputes.
This is directly impacting families' futures together, and now state legislators are taking action.
Try not to smile.
Here we go.
When you hear an infant's innocence or witness the magical simplicity of childhood.
We decorated it for our grandchildren.
These families from Scottsdale, Santan Valley, and Mesa cherish the special moments a little more these days.
That's what I put on my bucket list.
Surf before you die.
I'm a surf before I die.
All three say moments like these
Mr. Golden Sun.
were almost ripped away because of a loophole that exists in county courts across the state.
Lives have been destroyed.
There isn't any justice many times.
The system we have right now is not working.
Each family had custody challenges with an ex and went to family court to set ground rules for visitation. A judge ordered supervised parenting time in every case. That means families had to find a third-party observer to supervise them or their ex with the kids. All three worked with what they thought was a reputable agency, but all three say they ended up in a nightmare.
State of Arizona versus Michael Albert Coltrap.
This is the couple paid to provide supervision for these families. The pair is now facing charges of fraud and forgery. Sierra and Michael Coltrap are accused of misrepresenting their credentials, saying that she had a PhD in counseling psychology to intimidate families and influence court decisions.
The court should check and double check, triple check anything these people say. There you go.
For Jesse Hewlett,
Good job.
the experience was stressful.
That's a good spot right there.
He lived out of state
So you go quarterback.
and didn't have custody, but he wanted to start a relationship with his kids. So a judge ordered him to have 4 supervised visits with them to prove he could handle the dad role by himself when his boys visited him out of state. We obtained this sheriff's report accusing the couple of trying to charge Jesse for extra services and threatening him if he didn't agree to them.
I went into this process for good reasons, and now I'm potentially going to lose everything.
The couple is also accused of saying they could file court documents that could sway the judge against him.
It was kind of like, if you have to decide now, you want us to be on your side, and if you don't want us to be on your side, then there's a potential that, we could be on the other side.
There's no accountability whatsoever.
Grandparents Gerald and Nisha Chernomas say it happened to them too when they tried to take custody of their 2 granddaughters after their daughter's death. Police records show they were told they couldn't see their grandchildren if they didn't agree to attend and pay for the court-ordered family therapy sessions recommended and provided by the Coltrap's agency.
And there are 2 sides to every story.
When we found Michael Coltrap outside of his Gilbert home, he denied any intentional wrongdoing.
Sierra and I provided the highest level of ethical service that we could.
While these two will have their day in court, this case is shedding light on a bigger issue. Who is making sure they were qualified to be supervisors in the first place?
There are no current laws in Arizona regulating who's appropriate and who's not.
He's right. Unlike counselors, daycare providers, and attorneys, supervised visitation agencies aren't required to have a license. They don't even need a background check before being eligible to provide court-ordered services to vulnerable families and charging them fees.
I think something needs to be done.
Legislators like Democratic State Representative Debbie McCune Davis say they're willing to help close the loophole, but legislative action is already slow. A Republican measure to require fingerprint clearance cards already failed once. The courts, she says, could offer an immediate fix. But the state Supreme Court and the Maricopa County Superior Court repeatedly declined our request for an interview about this, and they refused to tell us whether they would even consider changing their policies to better protect families. Instead, the Supreme Court offered a statement encouraging families to do their own vetting, much like one would for a therapist or daycare center. However, those are examples of professions that do have oversight conducted by the state or a state licensing board.
T-Rex jump.
These families say they're not giving up until something changes to protect the people who need it the most.
We ought to ensure that people that hold power over vulnerable children and families ought to be held to some sort of standard.
I think a family court is absolutely broken.
These people, they damaged my family in the process. I spent time with them. My kids spent time with them. We spent money with them, and we didn't get anything but damage.
The Maricopa County Court does provide a roster containing names of attorneys and counselors who at one point had verified credentials in their field and could serve as supervisors. But ultimately, parents can choose whoever they want, whether they have credentials or not.
So you need a license to cut somebody's hair, but you don't necessarily need a license to do this.
Yeah, and that's what these parents are saying. They want some sort of regulation in there that would prevent something like that from happening.
Sounds like it should be that way.
Thank you, Lori J.
Thank you.